everyone, and welcome to another Step for Youth podcast, a City of Houston initiative for youth and by youth. As part of becoming a child-friendly city, Houston Youth, through the Mayor's Office of Education and Youth Engagement, developed this podcast to create a space for youth to share their experiences and thoughts on the state of children's rights in their city. We aim to promote the rights of Houstonians and children everywhere by talking to experts who protect children's rights, highlighting the importance of youth voices, empowering youth to advocate for themselves as well as their community, and inviting youth to join and support organizations that prioritize their rights, such as the Child Friendly Cities Initiative, or short, CFCI.
And when we talk about children's rights, we're talking about the articles listed in the United Nations Convention of the Rights of a Child. For example, the convention states that every child has the right to a standard of living that permits them to develop physically, cognitively, spiritually, morally, and socially. The City of Houston continues to ensure that this responsibility is met and supports youth to be an active, essential part of our society. On November 19, 2019, Houston's Mayor Sylvester Turner became the first U.S. mayor to sign UNICEF's Global Child-Friendly Cities Manifesto. And in August 2020, Houston became the first city in the U.S. to be nominated as a candidate for UNICEF's official recognition as a child-friendly city. Oftentimes, child and youth voices are not heard on some of the most significant issues impacting their communities. Join us today to learn and hear about how Houston and its youth leaders can achieve safe and compassionate communities for all young people.
Hello, everyone. We are your hosts. My name is Serene, and I'm a junior at Dulles High School.
And my name is Richard. I'm a junior at Clear Lake High School in CCISD.
We're both part of the City of Houston Child Friendly City Initiative, a youth participation committee, which aims to advocate for children's rights.
In today's podcast episode, we will focus on the importance of youth voice in decision making for their communities. Our conversation will be based on the following rights from the United Nations Convention of the Rights of the Child. Article 12, which states that every child has the right to voice their opinions on all matters affecting them and to have their views taken seriously. We're also focusing on Article 14, which states that every child has the right to think what they want to and to practice their religion, and as long as they are not stopping others from enjoying their rights. Government must respect the rights of their parents to teach their children information about this right. We will be talking to Tommy Wan, a legislative aide and intern at the Houston City Council, and Alex Xavier Mendoza, a youth engagement coordinator, UNICEF National Youth Council member, and a chairman of the City of Houston Mayor's Youth Council. Together, they will discuss the various city opportunities that exist for youth to connect to city leaders and provide their opinions on issues they think are important. They will also discuss the importance of community building and discuss how to balance advocacy with our daily lives.
Thank you, Richard. A child's right to participate in the decision making of their community and making their voice heard on concerns impacting them is very important. We will be talking to two Houston youth leaders who are amazing examples of how youth can get involved in their local government. First off, we are delighted to welcome you all to Tommy Wen. Tommy is currently an undergraduate at the University of Texas at Austin, studying civic engineering and government. His interest in civic engagement, local governance, and public policy has led him to become a legislative aide in the Texas House of Representatives, an intern at the Houston City Council, and a fellow with OCA Greater Houston. To give back to his Houstonian roots, Tommy began A-Leaf Votes last year, a program that supports civic engagement through student and faculty empowerment and opportunities, leadership development, and voter education in A-Leaf, one of Mayor Turner's complete communities. Thank you, Tommy, for being here.
Hello, really excited to be here. Thank you so much.
Our second guest is Alex Xavier Mendoza, a junior at ISVA and currently serves as the Youth Engagement and Communications Coordinator for Judge Dolores Lozano. He holds the position of chairman on the Mayor's Youth Council and previously served on the City of Houston's Child Friendly Cities Initiative Youth Council. Additionally, he is an active member of the UNICEF National Youth Council, where he serves as a spokesperson and offers strategic feedback on UNICEF USA initiative. Alex Xavier is highly committed to advocating for youth and is committed to represent his community in the future. Thank you, Alex Xavier, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so now we're gonna get started. Okay, so my first question is for you, Alex Xavier, and that is, so can you tell us a little bit about how youth can get involved in the decision making of their community, and how or what opportunities exist for Houston, for the youth to have their voices heard?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I often get asked, what steps do I need to take to actively get involved in their community? And there's no wrong approach to doing so. Here are just some examples that I have. One, join local councils or committees. So one is a CFCI Youth Council, one's the Mayor's Youth Council. And there you can, those youth councils provide opportunities for you to speak and voice your opinions on issues that affect your community. Um, Whether that's like pollution, environmental justice issues, um, access to clean drinking water, garbage pickup, affordable housing. By you joining those youth councils, you can participate in decision making processes and act and advocate for your community. So that's just one. Two is attend community, city council, or county commissioner court meetings. There's a certain time for the community to speak and voice their opinion on certain issues facing their specific area, their community. There you can address your elected officials directly and sometimes have the opportunity to hear back from them on those issues. And three, most importantly, is volunteer. So you can volunteer at like the Houston Food Bank, the Red Cross, the Children's Museum, etc. And the city has a volunteers initiative program through the Department of Neighborhoods. And there you can volunteer and directly learn more about community issues and become more involved in the community.
Okay, thank you so much. I just have like a follow-up question regarding what you said. So you said we can like join CFCI and stuff like that. So like where can we find opportunities like that? Like for example, like I found it like through my like school posters. Like how would you say is a good way?
I think that's the main way we find out about these programs is through our schools. So we need to continue to do outreach to all the high schools, middle schools for programs that they have available to them. So I feel like those school council, those pages are really 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 important in providing information about these type of programs.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing that. Okay, so my next question um, is that so you mentioned some great ways that we can be involved in our local decision making, but what about the youth who feel discouraged to voice their opinions? Like, what if they had a previous experience that led them to not? Yeah, what if they had like a prior experience that was not well, that didn't go well?
Yeah, so unfortunately, that's very common. As the next generation that's going to actually lead this country, we shouldn't be experiencing that. We should be able to voice our opinions without like being intimidated or put down or anything like that. So, as someone who's experienced that by my own fifth grade teacher when I was in elementary, it's very hard. But I think I came a long way and proved her wrong. And we can all do that. Um, but you cannot, you have to remember, you have the power to prove them wrong. Um, and you can succeed despite like their lack of like discouragement and like negativity towards you. So here are like some tips that just helped me, to who I became today. Um, is find supportive allies. So mentors, friends that are involved in the exact same thing you're doing, can offer encouragement and support. And those can even be teachers sometimes. Those could be, like I said, mentors or just community leaders that are also involved in your community. And then also build your knowledge and skills on like different topics that you're passionate about. Um, and you can speak with, confidence after, you gain knowledge on those issues. And then also use your strengths and always stay positive. So I always stayed positive along the way. I've never like doubted myself or doubted anyone around me. Uh, and remember that voicing your ideas is important, to creating positive change. And don't let discouragement and negative feedback get to you.
Yeah, I definitely agree with all these points. I think these are very beneficial to youth and can help out the youth a bit by voicing their opinions and just getting more confident and such.
So, we've heard a lot from Alex Xavier on how youth can become involved in our communities. But what advice do you have, Tommy, for youth who feel like their voices won't have a notable impact?
Yes, for sure. First of all, thank you so much for having this podcast and organizing it. This is another step for youth engagement to get involved in these very important issues. So, to me, the reality is in all legislative and policy issues, we know that if youth, as young people, show up, we are able to make a change and we are able to show what we as young people are thinking on certain topics. So, I think one of the best answers to that question is just to take a look at the history of how youth have became involved and how they are able to start making change and show their voices and show that they're real stakeholders in local government. So, for example, you can take at the Texas legislature, for example. In the House of Representatives, we're currently at the 88th session, and a lot of representatives are actually opening up ideas to young people. These representatives, they are able to take your ideas once you've done your research, give them that bill idea, and they'll go ahead and draft it and present it on your behalf. So that's one of the ways that young people can get involved on issues they care about. And the reality is, you can do this from elementary, middle school, to high schoolers, and that's one of the ways we're holding elected officials and those who work in government accountable. We're showing them that we have issues that we care about, whether it be public safety, environmental regulation, public education, higher education, and we're showing them that we're doing our research and we really want to be a part of what the decision making process is like. So there's also other few ways of just showing up and persevering and showing up for local governments. That could look like you're writing letters to your representative, either handwriting or you're emailing them. You're going in person into their offices, whether it's at the Houston City Council, at the Capitol, at the state level, or even the Capitol at the federal level. Go in person, state the issues you care about, what you want to see, particularly specifically from that representative, and then making sure that you follow up, present your ideas, and work with them. And perhaps even begin a youth initiative within their office and using their office as a mechanism. For example, you can propose a youth conference on a certain topic, such as environmental justice or public safety, and that's a great way to get that conversation started in that particular district. Now, that's just the nature of institutions, and what we need to do is just simply show up. And if we show up, we do the work, we show that we're passionate about these different issues, they'll start to take us as stakeholders, they'll start to take us seriously, and they'll start to understand that our voices and impact are very important in the decision making process. And to that end, we do have a notable voice. And if we show up and if we persevere and we go through that process, then they will know that as well.
Wow, that was a great answer. It's almost like if you don't knock on the door will never open. And so I want to ask you, can you tell us some personal experiences of how you showed up and you persevered and how that made a notable impact in your life?
Yeah, for sure. What you just said, Richard, is one of the most important aspects of youth engagement. And that, number one, is showing initiative. And initiative is a great way to get started in terms of proposing these ideas, keeping through with them, following through with them, and really learning great organizational experiences until the very end of it. So, one of the examples that I can think of is over in East Houston, right? There's like Galena Park, Manchester, Harrisburg, lots of very important public health issues relating to environmental justice. There's concrete batches, there's dioxin in the soil. These are very important aspects that we need to communicate with our local officials, with the Environmental Protection Agency, and with the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality to say that we care about these communities in Fifth Ward, in these different communities. We care about their public health, and that we as young people want to help out with that, right?
Mhm.
And one of the best ways to do that is just showing up to these different community meetings that the TCQ, the EPA is holding, and really just testifying and showing your voice. And by doing that, you're showing that young people, we do have thoughts on these matters. And then by organizing youth conferences, by organizing town halls on these certain topics, by proposing legislation relating to the regulation of TCEQ, the permitting process, or just making sure that you have an active role in terms of these notifications, that slowly building up is initiative and can create real change. So that's just one of the examples of how initiative works in youth engagement and how that can create serious change in our Houston community.
Yes, I totally agree. And also, what's amazing about advocacy is that it doesn't matter what sort of issue is important to you because advocacy is universal to all issues, no matter where you come from, what background you are. Advocacy connects us all to the issues we think are important and that we can work together, take the initiative, like you said, and make a notable impact on our communities.
Right. It's so important to embrace that diversity part. We all have different backgrounds. We all have different identities. We all have different experiences in the education system. So when we bring those together, we learn together and we're open to other perspectives in a non defamatory or in a friendly way where we're amicable to each other and learning new things every single day. That's really a very important step to showing that we as youth can organize and that we as youth have an active voice in local governing.
Okay. As you all might know, as youth, we face a unique set of challenges regarding advocacy and participation. We would like to hear from both of you of how you handle high school and college demands with the stressors of your advocacy work. And we will start by Tommy first.
Yes, of course. If it's very important for the school life balance, right? And one of the best ways and one of the best advice that I could give in terms of integrating youth advocacy with your schoolwork is to find intersections of where these topics are almost similar. For example, if you're taking an AP environment class and you're interested in specific soil testing or you're interested in pollution in a specific region, then you can use that experience in your youth advocacy as well, because these issues translate very clearly within the city of Houston as well. You might also have experience with an AP government class or an IB history class, and you can take those experiences and what you learned about policymaking and transfer them to your own ideas, whether for bill drafting or transferring to, for example, one recent example was the Outdoor Children's Bill of Rights. You can take that experience and integrate it within your youth advocacy. Focus on one or two issues that you really care about, that you have a personal background to, and that you can kind of solidify your interest throughout your high school or college years. And that can make a very big impact in that niche specific community. And I think just integrating those to your schoolwork and your interest in youth advocacy. And really, I think the last part of that is showing up and showing out and showing initiative. If you can do that, then that can be a really great start in terms of creating that school life balance, but also advocating for the issues that you really care about.
Okay. So I know you mentioned like this outdoor bill of rights and I know it just like came out. So could you like tell us a little bit about that because I think it's like a great like environmental like bill of rights and yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It was just signed by the mayor a week or two ago. Essentially, it just outlines what young people, what children deserves. They deserve to breathe free air. They deserve to live in a pollution-free environment. They deserve to drink clean water. All of these many important public health factors and what we deserve as young children. We're showing that we care and that we have a voice. And one of the best ways and one of the best mechanisms to do that is through establishing that Bill of Rights what we have just done with the help of the mayor.
Okay. Thank you so much, Tommy. Now, Alexavier, can you tell us a little bit about how you balance high school demands?
Yeah, definitely. So something I say often is the work will be there tomorrow. We have that mindset of like, no, we need to continue working long hours and neglecting our mental health and our personal needs. So here are some just quick tips that I currently do just to manage, my time and things like that. Definitely, it's one going back to managing your time. So putting time specifically like in your Google Calendar, like something like, oh, I'm gonna take 2 hours to take a break and not focus on any schoolwork, or I'm going to focus these next 2 hours on school and homework and all that. So that's definitely helpful. And then also taking breaks. So it's okay to sometimes experience burnout, but if we can avoid it, let's avoid it. Um, so just rest, recharge and things like that. And then also get support. So don't be afraid to like ask for help or when you need it and things like that. So that can be from teachers, advisors, mentors, your um, advisors from like your youth councils and things like that. Use them to your advantage to get support. And then also maintain just a healthy balance. Remember to, go outside and things like that and walk and take your dog, ride your bike, go to downtown, go to Discovery Green, things like that. So yeah, that's couple of some couple of ways that I try to keep myself from getting stressed out.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like I personally myself like create a planner every day to just like have myself like organized and like manage my time efficiently. So yeah, these are some like great ways to manage your time. So thank you.
Finally, our last question is for both of you, and what I really think gets to the heart of why we do youth advocacy. Why is it important for youth and adults to advocate together on issues that impact their communities?
Yeah, I think one of the most important aspects that I get out of that question is the just the critical nature of mentorship. And mentorship in the form of learning from those who are older than you, who have experience, who have policy initiatives, and who understand the nuances and intricacies of what life brings, right? And we have very different life experiences as a young person and an older adult. But it's important to collaborate intergenerationally to understand the perspectives. We may have different life experiences, but both of our life experiences are very unique, especially coming from the youth side. We have a unique perspective of how public education works. We have a unique perspective of how we think that public health should be dictated within our communities, how we should economically fund certain aspects of the city compared to an older adult. And the importance of that is when we collaborate and talk with adults and other generations and work together to come to these solutions so that we as youth have a stake within what they're planning. That's going to be a very important part of moving forward in policy making and legislation and in just in building a robust and cohesive community. And really, I think that's a really important part that because we are in society together, because we are one city, because we do care about equity, we do care about the safety of our fellow neighbors, our peers, students, teachers, our elders, we come together and we work on these issues because eventually, what Alex Xavier said earlier, we young people, we're going to be the next leaders. We are going to be in their seats, and we are going to need to continue that intergenerational collaboration with the young people. So we got to do that throughout the whole course of what we're doing at the City of Houston, and that's a really important part. And one of the best ways to do that is through cultivating mentorship.
You talk about mentorship, and I just want to know, has there been a mentor in your life that has made sort of a notable impact on your life?
Yeah, definitely. I would definitely say my parents first. They have gave a lot of wide latitude in terms of what's interesting, and in terms of getting into community development and getting into. I'm from Southwest Houston and A-Leaf, so in terms of getting into the importance of youth advocacy and civic engagement, I had no interest in local government, and nor did I want to touch anything relating to policy until I got to intern in her office until she told me and taught me the importance of youth engagement, until she explained that young people do have a voice and that if we show up, then we can make a change. And with policymaking, with ordinances, with legislation, that was one of my first tastes of if people in the public and the community are well developed, are economically funded, and are taken care of, then that can be a very wide change of what we have from now. And that's one, going to create sustainable neighborhoods, that's going to better relationships with our fellow peers, and that's going to improve the general trajectory of society going forward. And I think those two mentors are definitely, um, one, what got me interested, and two, I think is a great example of how other adults and how other youth can come together for that mentorship pairing as well.
That was greatly said. What's your take on that, Alex Xavier?
Yeah, so it's important for us youth and adults to advocate together on issues that are impacting our community because each group brings um, a a unique set of skills to the table. So, us youth, we were in the classroom, more recently than, adults were. We bring the energy to the room. We bring our fresh perspective to the table. And then for adults, they bring their experience, their connections, and all that to the table. Um, so, working together on advocacy initiatives, we can make more diverse campaigns that are more likely to resonate with our community. And then also, by breaking down age related barriers and building the bridges of communication, they can also foster greater understanding between different generations and promoting a culture of collaboration um, with mutual respect towards one another. Um, so that's what I would say on that. Working together, like I said, they do have those connections a lot of the times, and then they are the ones in the seat, actually voting on, the policy changes, whether that be on city council or in the state ledge. So we need to continue to hold them accountable, but also work together.
Yeah. I want to ask the same question that I asked to Tommy. Has there been any specific mentors in your life that have made like a notable impact?
Yeah, so I would definitely say Laura's one of them. Laura like continued to push me, and she was like, "Well, there is this opportunity, for the UNICEF National Youth Council," and like I knew nothing about UNICEF going into the CFCI Youth Council here locally, and so I learned a lot, and so that's when I applied, and then when I told her that I got in, it was like, wow, she was really shocked, like she was excited for me and things like that. So she's definitely played a role in like the policy making side of what I do. So that's gonna be Lara Cuela.
Yeah, parents, adults, they play a major role in our advocacy.
Okay, I have one more question for Tommy. So I know that you have been directly involved in the Texas House of Representatives, and I just wanted to ask, like, have you ever felt intimidated by the elder leaders? And if so, like, how would you overcome a challenge like this?
All the time. That is a very institutionalized place, and sometimes they can have very dangerous quid pro quos or certain ways that they enact things that I personally don't agree with in terms of my philosophy. And that's just the politics of things, right? And sometimes we, especially as youth, without that experience, we have to kind of overlook that and really take a look at why we are there and why we are really invested in change, right? Because the Texas House of Representatives, for example, is a mechanism for change. It's an institution where you can pass legislation that can positively impact communities, especially for those in complete communities, as you mentioned earlier. And we just got to keep that in mind. And it's going to be intimidating a lot of the times, especially with how they act and how certain things are politicized, are polarized. But at the end of the day, we are all humans. We are all there for a singular purpose, and that's to help the people of Texas, and that's to help the people of Houston, and to make sure that they have the resources necessary, the economic funds, the investment, the education, the teacher pay to function as best as we can as society. And I think ultimately thinking about the ultimate reason of why that institution is there, why we are there for the betterment of constituents, I think that's going to be a very important aspect that we highlight when doing anything. And that's something I would encourage if anyone is interested in interning at the legislature or at city council or at any a political-esque type of institution. Always remember why you're there, what brought you there, and what specific issues you care about, and take a look into kind of that process and use it for the best of people and use it for the good.
Okay, Thank you, Tommy, for sharing your voice in such a powerful way. Xavier and Tommy, you're an inspiration to all of us, and we cannot wait to hear more about the impact of your work in the future. I definitely enjoyed learning about the different public policy ideas and how you can get involved with your local government. So thank you for sharing that, and thank you to our listeners for tuning in to this podcast. I hope you guys were as inspired as us to be a voice for your community and make an impact on issues that you all care about.
It was really a great learning experience today, and also special thanks to the City of Houston Mayor's Office of Education and Youth Engagement and the Houston Community Action Council for their support in the production of this podcast. Hope you tune in to our next episode where we will discuss the importance of all children to have access to social services like mental health support and quality education. Join us to hear from our very special guests, Dr. Freeney from the Center for School Behavior Health and Mental Health America, and Latricia Milton from the Houston Public Library.
We hope to see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.